Greetings, Sonic State. I'm Eric Persing from Spectrasonics at NAMM 2011, and we're going to talk about some fantastic things we have going for Omnisphere 1.5. Omnisphere is our flagship instrument, and what we're doing is we're expanding this. We're taking it to a whole new level with 1.5. We've taken the synthesis features, expanding those. We're making it better sounding. We've got some really cool interactive things we're doing, and also making it easier to use. So the most innovative feature that we have in Omnisphere 1.5 is called the Orb. And I'm just going to give you a little glance of what that looks like here on the interface. It's very Star Trek. And I'm going to get to that towards the end of the demo. We also have included a whole bunch of interesting things that users have requested. A lot of user-requested features, such as a new browser mode. So the traditional browser mode that we have, it's a little bit, we have to scroll a lot to see the different categories. But in the new 5-column browser view, it's much easier to see all the categories at once. So that's a whole new kind of browser mode that's very helpful, especially as the library is expanding, because we are adding tons and tons of new patches to this version. And we've got over 5,000 patches now in version 1.5, 8,000 total sounds, which is kind of incredible when you realize we only started with 800 patches 2 years ago. So this instrument is just exploding with all kinds of new sounds. So I'm going to play a few of them here. It's impossible to play all of them, of course, but we'll pull it up here so you can kind of see which sounds I'm selecting, and I'll give you an example of a few of them. An interesting sound because this is like a physical modeling sound. So that's just a couple of the interesting sounds. And let's load up a couple of the film sounds, because of course we're well known for having all kinds of sounds in movies. And I always say, what's life without a little pain? So we'll start with a little bit of some scary stuff here. So a couple of fun kind of, thank you very much. A couple of fun sounds from Omnisphere 1.5. One of the things about Omnisphere is a lot of times you have synths kind of divided into two categories. You have synths that have tons of preset sounds but aren't very programmable. Or you have synths that are super powerful but they don't come with a whole lot of interesting sounds or real useful sounds. With Omnisphere, you really get the best of both worlds, because you've got an awesome library and one of the most powerful synths in the world. It's really a sound designer's dream. So I want to show you some of these new synthesis features. And I'll start real basic, and we'll build from there. So check this out. Because we've got a lot of new kind of synthesis features, our Harmonia has been expanded to where we have a Harmonia Zoom page. Harmonia adds up to 10 oscillators per patch. Okay, so you have 10 individual oscillators per patch. In the Harmonia Zoom, you can see all the parameters simultaneously. So let me just show you what this does. We'll take a very simple sawtooth wave here, right? And let's add some Harmonia oscillators. Okay, sounding good. But one of the things we can do is that we can now modulate each of the Harmonia oscillators independently, and we can produce really rich sounds with independent LFOs on each of the oscillators. So check this out. Okay, and if I take off Harmonia, it's the same sound. Okay, pretty amazing, and there's no samples there. That's all just that's the sound of the actual Omnisphere DSP synth. So let's move on to some of the things we can do with wave shaping. Wave shaping is really great for just absolutely mangling and messing up the sound in incredible ways. We've got some new features in wave shaping and a new wave shaping zoom. So we've added a polyphonic bit crusher and polyphonic sample rate reducer. So let's check out what that's like. So we'll start with a simple sine wave, right? No tricks up the sleeve. And we'll go ahead and put a little bit crushing on there. So you can hear what that adds to the color. And you can also add sample rate reduction and animation to really mangle the sound. And what's cool is that you can, of course, modulate all these parameters. So let's put an envelope on this crusher. And then let's put another envelope on the reducer. And now we've got and that's all from this sine wave. Okay? So use something a little more interesting, it sounds even better. Okay, so let's check out some of the new granular synthesis features that we have in Omnisphere 1.5. And a lot of people don't understand granular synthesis, or it's just kind of too complex for people to get their heads around. It's kind of a simple concept, actually. It takes the sound, and it splits up the sound into thousands of tiny grains. And then those grains are arranged in all sorts of different ways that create motion and all sorts of interest. You can think of it like pointillism would be on painting. Okay, so we got a new granular zoom with some new parameters, and we have this granular visualizer, which is very interesting. And what it does is it lets us visualize how the grains are being manipulated in the engine. So it's like a 3D model kind of what's happening there. And to show you that, I'm going to show you a speech recording through this. And this, if you know what Easter eggs are, there's an Easter egg in Trillion with this particular sound in it. It's our friend Dr. B. Sirius talking about his love of Spectrasonics products. So I'm running that through, and that's...
You need Omnisphere to travel the dimensions. You need RMX so that you can take the X factor out of your track so that you know that you have something that's a hit. Okay, so let's run that through the granular synthesis, and let's see what we can do to the good doctor. You need Omnisphere to travel the
So you get the idea. You can go really crazy with effects type things, but it's also very musical. So let's go ahead and take something that's a little more musical source. Of course, it's polyphonic. It's not just an effect. This is actually part of the synthesis engine. So let's take something like a Brazilian guitar, like this cavaquinho, and you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful multi-sampled instrument. Okay, and then we'll put that through the granular synthesis, and we can use that to create all kinds of really interesting, subtle tremolo kinds of sounds. And check this out. This is really, really pretty. And that's all from this, right? So it's pretty powerful what you can do with granular synthesis in Omnisphere 1.5. So it's very, very fun. All right, the last feature I want to show you, which is my favorite feature, is an innovative new orb. And the orb is built into Omnisphere 1.5, and it is also built into Omni TR, which is our new iPad app, which we're going to talk about in a bit in another video. But I want to control the orb from Omni TR, and you can see, if you take a look at the interface, you can see that it's moving, and I can either control it with the mouse, or I can use a MIDI controller, or I can use the iPad, which is, of course, the best controller for it. All right, so what is the orb? The orb is essentially a brand new kind of circular controller that works on an orbit system so that the sound always returns to itself. And it's a really interesting kind of controller. It works differently than an XY controller where there's an edge. This actually it returns to the center. So the edge of the circle is one axis and the radius is the other axis. So that way when it always comes back to itself. And so that part's very interesting about it, but what's even better is it is intelligent. It's not just the controller side, it's also on the sound manipulation side. So what happens is the orb intelligently figures out the patch, what would be useful effects to put on it, and useful synthesis parameters, all in real time. So it says it might analyze something that's sample-based and say granular would be interesting in this kind of setting. Maybe a few different types of these types of delays, maybe this distortion. We'll set up some modulation roundings, things that would take you hours to set up. It will do for you automatically in an intelligent and musical way. And then, if you don't like that, you can change it by rolling the dice. And when you roll the dice, it reanalyzes the sound and gives you another variation of modulation. So let's check out what this can do. It's a lot of fun, and I'm gonna control it from this iPad here. Start with that pattern there. Okay, now I'm going to start to move this. And the center is the original sound again. Then if I let go of it, the ball will bounce. And you have an inertia control. Okay, so let's say I don't like what it's come up with. Let's hit the dice. That's something different, but it's musical. So what's going on inside the engine is extremely complex. All these things are being added in real time and analyzed. But to use it, all you need to understand is a circle and a rectangle. It's really easy to use. And it's sound dependent. So if I use it on something like this string sound, the kinds of things it's going to come up with are really different than what you just heard. So let's try it. This chord here. Let's roll the dice. Try again. Got some nice phasing and flanging going on there. So it's really, really musical what it comes up with, and it's an infinite variety of things that it will come up with. All of that can be saved with the patch and with the multi and your song. So even though it has this random serendipitous quality to it, you can capture it and put it in your song or in your patch for live performance later. So the Orb is super cool, and everything I've been showing you for Omnisphere 1.5, we've got the expanded new synthesis parameters. We've got a huge number of brand new patches, tons of brand new patches, bringing it to over 5,000 patches, 8,000 sounds. We've got the Orb, and all of this is free to registered users, and it'll be available on February 15th. Thank you very much.